Hey everyone, I am Justin, and that is Kyle, and we are the Fantasy Football Upside. Today, in our fourth episode of our Upside series, we are going through our high upside tight ends. In the last three episodes, we have discussed our top four high upside running backs, wide receivers, and our top two QBs.
We also talked about
you see what I did there?
Yeah, I did.
You see what I
we
did
also
there?
talked about Arby's, though. I could really go for a sandwich.
Once again, bring back the big Montana.
Dude,
Bring it
there's never a bad time for Arby's. Well, except for like right after you eat it. Then that's a bad time for Arby's.
Well,
that was our shot. I just
potential.
blew our shot at that
Yeah, there goes
advertising
that chance.
opportunity. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Could you imagine? Yeah, 25 pounds of meat. Yeah.
Hey,
All
Kyle,
right.
do me a favor and go ahead
Sure.
and point to where they can click for the episode.
Up there. I figured it out. It's up there. Okay.
You figured it out? I shouldn't point. It's just going to be bad. You could also try to figure it out by clicking the link in the description below. That should be a little easier for you.
Somewhere down there.
Somewhere down there.
I don't know where.
This is what we do. We like to have a good time, but we also like to give you the information you need. So we want to help you win your league this year. And that
unless you're in our league.
Right. Because we're going
if you're in our league, you're not going to win. Don't worry. Just give up now, all of you in our leagues.
Oh, man, we have not bashed them in a while, Kyle.
We haven't.
Now you're just coming at him. You know what? This is his views do not reflect the views of Justin.
Well, hey,
I want some of them to like us still. Anywho,
yeah. All right.
We're going to be spending the rest of the summer, preparing you to dominate the draft like we will in our league. Because guess what? You win your draft to win your league. That's what you do. So if you want to learn how to draft to win and what moves to make during the season, make sure you hit that subscribe button, click that bell if you're watching on YouTube, and give us a thumbs up or comment. Once again, please leave us a comment or a question. We'll answer it. We'll even answer it right here for you as well, give you a shout out. So we'll be here to help you every week this year.
Yeah.
So Kyle, what do we have?
All right. Like you said, we're ramping up our frequency for posting, but beyond that, we are working on that victory draft kit. That's going to come out shortly, and we'll have all the links and all that information about that. This thing is going to be packed full of the information that you need to be able to dominate your draft on the day that it's happening. Okay. You're going to be able to print this out if you want. You're going to be able to put it on your computer and bring it with you if you're drafting that way. Or if you're just sitting at home drafting online, you're going to be able to look through everything right then and there and figure it all out. Okay. Another little tidbit for future here, something that we're working on, trying to iron out some of the details on how we're going to do it.
Little
teaser here, is that you're going to be able to have us on your team on draft day, the two of us. Well, one of the two of us probably, right? Yeah. We are going to offer ourselves up. All right, that was a really bad pause, right? A really bad pause, right? We're going to offer ourselves up to be your draft day Sherpa. Okay, so we will be on the phone with you on a Zoom or however you want to handle it to help you figure out your draft. Now, obviously, this is for an online draft. We're not going to show up at your live draft and hang out with you. That is an entirely different set of circumstances that we'd have to discuss with our wives and children.
Depending on the how we word it as well, we might not be able to cross state lines, or you know what I mean. It might not be legal from what we're talking about.
Well, if we have inopportune pausing like I just had, Whoops. Yeah.
I think that one going forward.
Yeah. The kid don't talk too good. All right. So
Indiana,
anyway, like I said, anyway, the draft kit's going to come out first. We'll give you all the info about that. But as we develop this idea about being available to some people, very limited amount of people that are going to be able to utilize us at their draft on their draft day. We'll bring that information out, how you're going to be able to set that up and how you're going to be able to get us to help you that day. And for a limited number of people, we're looking at doing this possibly here. Have a Zoom meeting with you every single week to discuss with you your team as the season goes on, help you build your roster, help you manage what's going on. So we'll put those all in the works and we'll get that set up. And hopefully some of you are interested and some of you we can help out. And some of you we hopefully can help you win that title this year.
Stay tuned for those announcements.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
All right. So that was a little bit of a long way of saying that we're jumping in here headlong into those high upside tight ends. This is the end of our high upside series. We're not going to talk about defenses and kickers because
kickers are people too, Kyle.
They are people. They are people. That much we do know, but they get paid to swing their leg. So yeah. I don't get paid to swing my leg, and I do it all day long, moving from one spot to another. So I'm joking. I can't do what they do. That is extremely skilled. I'm just being a complete jerk. That's okay, right? Yeah. Yeah. So
just being yourself,
you definitely want me to help you in your draft, right? All right. So okay. So high upside tight ends. Again, as we've said with all of these guys, these are not necessarily tight end ones that you can see coming. They have a chance, the best upside chance to break out, become a constant and consistent performer on your roster, somebody who you might be able to put in every single week of the season into your roster and have them perform for you. All right.
Yep.
We're not saying these guys are going to be studs. What we are saying is that they will complement the studs on the rest of your roster. These are the depth picks that are going to fill out your roster and help you win your league. All right. So without further ado, Justin, who is your first high upside tight end?
My first high upside tight end is Jonnu Smith of the Tennessee Titans. So Fantasy Football Calculator has him as tight end 22, 6th pick in the 14th round. So, I mean, he's going at the end of the draft. He's going into his 4th season. He's only going to be 25 for the whole season as well. So he's still young. It's a young 4th season player. And guess what? First time in his career, he's atop the depth chart. Delaney Walker has not been brought back yet. I don't think they will. He is still unsigned, so there could be a possibility, but I don't see that happening. With that, I think he could see more targets, more potential in the red zone. That hasn't really been part of his game yet, is his red zone efficiency. But I think it's just because if you're going to have one tight end out there and you're down in the red zone, you probably had Delaney Walker down there for the Tennessee Titans. But guess what? He's not there anymore. But Jonnu, I was looking this up. The guy's efficient. He's just straight up efficient. He's ranked no lower than 2nd at the position in catch rate, 81%. Yards per target, Kyle, at 10.2 yards. Run after the catch, some rack, 7.9. Or target separation at 2.41 yards. So
that's really good.
So, yeah, that means the closest DB was 2.41 yards away from the guy.
At the point the catch was occurring. So the targeting spot. That's separation. That's great for a tight end because those guys don't get separation.
I mentioned it. He's athletic.
Yeah.
So I was looking up some information on playerprofiler.com. His burst score was in the 94th percentile. So for them, they use vertical jump and broad jump to determine their burst score. So those two combinations, which vertical and broad jump, really can give you an idea of how explosive a athlete somebody is. 94th percentile. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. There's been a report out there. This was all, it's also before, NFL came in and said no go on these anymore. But, the report is Jonnu Smith developing chemistry with Ryan Tannehill during the offseason. I mean, you hear these things all the time. But they actually live near each other in South Florida. So they've been working out, they said, about once a week. And that was, once again, that was before NFL came down with some restrictions about the private workouts. And once again, hashtag Twami, making all these things, always getting together and being all publicized, ruining it for the rest of the league. Way to go, Twami. Hashtag what?
Yeah. Hashtag immunity pills. He's good at ruining things for everybody.
He really is. This is why I think he is, Jonnu Smith is a high upside player, especially as going as a tight end 22. Yeah, they don't throw it as much as you would like, but okay, you have A.J. Brown. Corey Davis hasn't really done much in this league. Now, I think Adam Humphries is there as a slot wide receiver. I'm not really – the names I'm saying don't really scare you that much when it comes to potential of getting targets, in my opinion. So they may not throw as much, but if you're looking for a guy that can get open as a tight end, that's athletic, here's your guy.
Yeah.
This is your guy.
He's a guy. He's a guy.
He's a guy.
He's a guy.
He is a guy.
Yeah. I'm looking to see. I'm not seeing. Yeah, Adam Humphries is there. So yeah, you're right.
I still know some things.
I mean,
he came from Tampa.
You know a few things. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I mean they got Corey Davis, AJ Brown, Adam Humphries, Jonnu Smith. I mean, that's really it, you know.
And you also know Derrick Henry. I mean, he's a stud, but he doesn't really catch the ball out of the backfield.
No, but they did draft a running back. I want to say
Darrington Evans is a guy.
Darrington Evans.
I actually do like him. He's another one of those guys here towards the end of the draft. He might show up in one of our deep sleeper type episodes for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because Derrick Henry's going to contract year. You just never know what's going to happen. So I do like Darrington Evans.
Yeah, Darrington Evans.
Yeah, sorry.
Spelled funny. It's like Darrynton or something like that.
I think there's a G in there. I could be wrong.
I think it's Darrington Evans or something like that. Is how you pronounce it. Yeah, I mean, I like Jonnu Smith too. I think that him and AJ Brown are a solid group of guys, pass catchers for a team. Yeah, the two of them stand out as the talent in the passing game on that team. Tannehill's not a terrible passer either. Like that's never really been the knock on him. I think that he's struggled with managing a system that asks him to do more than he's capable of, and this one doesn't do that.
Right.
Like it's really not a complicated system. The passing game is supposed to prop up the run game's ability to be successful. And as long as Derrick Henry can run through guys, the passing game is going to continue to be successful, and the running game is going to be successful as well. So they're not going to, they're not a team that's going to blow people out. So you're not going to be game scripted out of stuff because they've run away with it. And now the running back is just going to salt the game away. They're still going to have to throw most of the game. They have a decent defense, but they want to play ball control. They don't want to run up the score. They just want to keep the other team from scoring enough. So the passing game will stay alive with them, and a ball control passing game usually works through the tight end first. So that's prime opportunity. You're getting a great upside in that spot, and the price that you're paying for Jonnu Smith is next to nothing. Look, we advocate, just like we do with the QBs, that you wait for drafting your tight end. At a certain point, you have to pull the trigger on those positions when it makes sense for you, based on who you're targeting and where you think they're going to fall, where you might be able to get them, that sort of stuff. If you are willing to wait forever to the end of the draft, basically, till before you pick your kicker and your defense, who you're going to stream for week 1, right? This is the guy you should be looking at. He's at least one of the guys you should be looking at. I got another one for you. We'll get to that a little bit later. Literally people are going to, they're going to say it seriously when they go, never heard of him. They'll be serious, but I'm serious too. But this guy, Jonnu Smith, is a beast, and I buy in.
He is a beast.
Good pick.
One of those things as well, I was kind of looking at some of his targets and everything like that. He's one of those rare ones where they actually throw screens to him. I think it's kind of rare as a tight end.
He's fast.
Yeah, that's kind of rare for a tight end. So they're going to find ways to get him the ball, because you're just not going to throw screens to a tight end usually. So
there's a reason that I talk about him and AJ Brown in the same breath.
Yeah,
it's because the two of them are solid. They're just solid players. Like, it's crazy. So all right. Got anything more for me on Jonnu?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Let me give you one here. This one, he's getting some noise around him. It's Hayden Hurst. This isn't the one I was just talking about. Mentioning. But Hayden Hurst, he, last time we talked about him, he was going on Fantasy Football Calculator as tight end 18, 9th pick of the 13th round. And he was listed as being on Baltimore. He's on Atlanta, if you haven't heard. We've mentioned him a couple times, but in case you're new here, he's on Atlanta. They still have him listed on Fantasy Football Calculator as being on Baltimore. He currently is still tight end 18, but he's going 7th pick of the 13th round. So he's moved up 2 picks, but he is still the same tight end rank for them. They still show him as Baltimore. So look, he's trending a little bit. You can see some
Yeah.
evidence of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The noise is starting to build a little bit because you're getting stuff out of Matt Ryan saying, "Hey, this guy's great," and all that stuff. And people are looking at what Austin Hooper did last year, and they're saying, "Well, Hayden Hurst should do the same thing." I mean, there's no
Right.
guarantee that he's going to, but this guy is a first-round draft pick by Baltimore. They got a second-round pick from Atlanta to trade him to Atlanta. So this is somebody that two teams believed in strongly enough to spend high draft capital on. He came out as a pass catcher, and he lost his job to Mark Andrews. Like, there's
Yeah.
no reason to be ashamed of that. Currently, for us, he's tight end 10. That's mostly because of me. I have him ranked pretty highly.
You
I
do.
think he's going to finish ahead of tight end 10.
Yeah.
And if I can get this guy, look, if I can take him in round 13 and somebody lets me get away with that, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to laugh at the end of the year when he's a tight end 1 and I took him in round 13. I laughed
especially
last
good
year.
in the keeper league.
Yeah. Well, I laughed last year when I drafted Austin Hooper in round, I think, 10. I laughed at that one because he was tight end 3, I think, at the end of the year, and he was tight end 1 most of the year. He was so solid. And then he got hurt. So, all right. But back to Hurst here. Look, he moves from Baltimore, where he got like roughly 40 passes last year, like 39 passes or something. The offense that threw the ball the least number of times per game last year. He moves from them, Baltimore, to the offense that threw it the most times per game last year, and that's Atlanta. And at least 50% of those were targeting the tight end. I mean, it's Dirk Cutter. I can't say it enough times. It's Dirk Cutter. He does nothing but throw to the tight end. Like, everything goes to the tight end. That's what they're supposed to do. So that's what Matt Ryan does, and he does a really good job of it. He likes throwing to very big targets. He figured out pretty early on that's how you accomplish things.
I mean, he had Tony Gonzalez for
He
quite a
did.
few years.
He did,
That
yeah.
made him
And
look pretty darn good. And
yeah,
I mean, heck, Matt Ryan might throw for 700 times.
yeah,
It's not out of the realm of possibilities.
yeah. He's going to develop arthritis. Is what he's going to do. Man, he's going to throw it a ton. Hurst moves to Atlanta. He only had 3 total pass catching options left this season. Now in Atlanta, there's Julio, there's Calvin Ridley, and then there's Hayden Hurst. You got Russell Gage, who's a waiver wire wonder at best on a week here or there. He's a wide receiver 3 on that team, but he does not perform at wide receiver 3 levels. But this is an offense that has carried a tight end 1 repeatedly. So there's no reason, in my opinion, to suspect that they won't carry a tight end 1. And for it to be anyone other than Hurst would be absolutely surprising. So,
like you said, I mean, Austin Hooper wasn't kept. He went to the Browns. They traded Mohamed Sanu during the season last year, and they haven't really replaced that production or that targets.
Yeah.
And like you said, okay, Russell Gage is there as a wide receiver 3 on the team, not in fantasy. Julio Jones, he's set in stone.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley, we were expecting big things out of him. Russell Gage.
They added Laquan Treadwell.
Laquan Treadwell. He was another first round. Let's see, it's funny. What are the Falcons doing? They're just collecting some former first round picks that
I think that they
could have some potential.
I think that their defense has like the most first round picks or first and second round picks, something like that.
Their offensive line has some of the most.
Yeah, but I think that their defense has the most first round talent on it or something like that in the whole league. Yeah, which is pretty shameful considering what they did last year.
Yeah.
So
there's a reason why Matt Ryan had to throw 700 times or dang here.
Yeah.
I think it might have been playing from behind a few times.
Hopefully they do it again. Yeah. No, But didn't they come back? They had like 2 fourth quarter comebacks where they forced overtime back to back, and they wasn't there that one game against New Orleans where they had like 2 successful onside kicks?
Oh, I can
And
see.
like the whole league had
Yeah,
6 for
yeah.
the year or something. I
Hey,
remember I was listening to that game on the radio. I was in the car and listening to that game, and I'm like, this is insane. I have to find a TV somewhere.
I think you're right because I think there was a lot of, it's one thing we we were kind of mentioning kickers. Kickers aren't people, but like,
They're
sorry,
people.
they're people. They are.
They're
But
people.
you Young Ho Koo, like
Yeah.
he was dang good at onside kicking.
Yeah.
One of the best since my guy Pat McAfee for the
Yeah.
Colts. He was one of
Yeah.
the best ones last year. So that's okay. People, kickers, they do matter in fantasy. That's one I'm looking at as a kicker for Young Hoku. But how did we get here, Kyle? What else do we have on Hayden
All
Hurst?
right. So Hurst, look, he's going to drop right into Hooper's spot here.
Yeah,
Hooper played 13 games last year. He had 75 catches on 97 targets. That's a pretty good catch rate.
yeah,
Hayden Hurst, I believe, should be able to match that. He's a pass catching tight end. He got Hooper had 787 yards and 6 TDs in those 13 games. So if you plot him out to a 16 game season, that's a pretty good season for a tight end. It's a lot of opportunity. The tight end touchdowns, that's phenomenal right there. 6 touchdowns for the season, and he was getting over. Like, I remember that he was averaging like 50 yards and a TD, or if he didn't get a TD, he was up over 80 yards. So the tight end is an integral aspect of Atlanta's offense. So pay for it. You don't have to pay for it right now.
right.
I think the noise is going to get a little louder, and you'll be lucky to get them to come draft season 9th, 10th round. I'm still paying 9th or 10th round for that. I'm
Yeah,
willing to do that. He's not proven, but works fine for me. He's in one of the best situations in the NFL this season, in my opinion, as far as a tight end can be. So that's what I've got. Let's see here. Who do you have as your tight end 2? High upside tight end 2.
yep. So my first one was
Or not
John
tight end
Smith.
2 necessarily, but just
Right.
a tight end.
First one was John Smith out of the Titans. We're going to go ahead and stay in the AFC South. Homer pick, Mr. Jack Doyle for the Colts.
Yeah.
Fantasy football calculator, tight end 21, 5th pick in the 14th round. So it's just one pick before John Smith is averaging right now. So I mentioned this in our tight end episode. There's a guy named Phillip Rivers. That's a quarterback for the Colts now. And what does Phillip Rivers love to do? He loves to punt. Go ahead.
Pump out kids.
He
and
does.
Touchdowns to tight ends.
That's what he loves to do. He loves to pump out those kids. I think he's working on a baker's dozen right now. But he also loves to throw touchdowns to tight ends. So
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett was throwing them last year. I just don't think he's going to be doing anything this year. Another guy that was on the roster last year that kind of hindered some of what Jack Doyle could do, and that was Eric Ebron. He is no longer with them. He's with the Steelers now. So whenever Ebron went down with an injury and went on the IR, Jack Doyle actually led the team in targets. So from like week 12 on, he led the team in targets. Not the biggest,
But wasn't T.Y. Hilton injured as well?
He was, but he came back here or there as well. So
Yeah.
the sample size isn't the largest, but he still led the team in targets. So he also tied for the league, though. He tied for 8th in red zone targets with 13. So you add in Phillip Rivers, who loves to throw to tight ends down there in the red zone. That number could go up even more.
Yeah.
Jack isn't really, he's not going to wow you with athleticism, but he's going to dominate you with route running. And he's going to dominate you with blocking as well. That doesn't count anything for fantasy football, but the guy is always on the field. So whenever you're always on the field and have the opportunity, and it is an all-around tight end that has all the respect from all the coaches, they're going to trust him. And I feel like Phillip Rivers coming into town, he's going to trust somebody that has the trust of all the coaches, and that name is Jack Doyle. They did add Trey Burton in the offseason as well. Came over from the Bears, also from the Eagles. That's why the relationship is there with Frank Reich. So, with the Philly special, even though he didn't call it, I think Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator. I'm sure he had his hand in that. But
yeah,
Frank Reich has always said he loves to throw 2 tight ends out there, and I would not see why they wouldn't do that. I think Jack is going to get the bulk of the targets, especially at tight end.
Well, a veteran's more likely to get to have some chemistry with a new QB who's a veteran
Yeah.
as well, and gain that trust faster. So you're going to get the payoff a lot quicker.
Yeah.
I like Jack Doyle this year as well. He's one of the guys I'm going to target in the back of my draft. Uh, you know, one of the tactics that I like to use in a draft in a spot where I'm not too concerned about which of a group of guys I end up with.
Yeah.
I will, grab a different spot and just say to myself, well, whichever one of those is left, I'll go grab. Or if I'm
Yeah.
saying to myself, these are the last of the guys in this position that I'm interested in, and if I miss out on one of them, I'm going to not be happy about it. He's one of those guys who falls into that spot.
Yeah.
And so if it gets to the point that there's only one of them left, I'm going to grab him, even though I might feel that it's a reach. But he's one of those guys. I think that he's in line for a phenomenal season. All of the stars are aligning for him. They really
Absolutely.
are. So
I mean, they like I said, they trust him. They
yeah,
signed him to another 3-year extension.
yeah.
So he just finished a 3-year extension. They signed him before the season was over. So I mean, he's going to be 30, I think, for most of the year. I mean, Chris Ballard wouldn't give him a 3-year deal if they think he doesn't have any gas left in the tank.
Oh,
So
he's got plenty of time. He's
he
got plenty of
does.
time.
He's an he's Indianapolis boy as well, so that's always good.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this before. We were
Yeah.
talking about it before. He played a Cathedral, right?
Yeah, you were like, what? Did he play a Cathedral? I was like,
I was like,
yeah.
no, based on his age and like
Yeah.
when they were really good at one point, or
Yeah.
one of the points at which they were very good.
Yeah.
It's like either that or like Lawrence North, usually. So, or otherwise you got to start talking about like Fort Wayne schools. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, anything else on Jack Doyle?
No, man. I think we've talked about him a couple times, and
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I like him. I think he's a great opportunity, a great chance for anybody who's willing to take that risk. I don't think it's that big of a risk. He's got a lot of upside. So,
I mean, yeah, tight end 21, fifth
yeah.
pick in the 14th round. Take a flyer.
Yep.
Right
All
before
right.
you take your defensive kicker. Take the tight end.
Yeah. All right. Well, same thing here. Same
Right, this
thing
is
here with
another
this
guy.
next guy. Okay. This one is going to be everybody run to Google and figure out who this guy is, right? Okay. He's currently tight end 1 in Dallas. It's Blake Jarwin, right? That's my last high upside tight end. Yeah. Who? Never heard of him. He is not getting drafted at Fantasy Football Calculator. So I have no information for you other
Do
than
not compute.
take him whenever you feel like, right? Fantasy Pros, though, does have him currently ranked 21 overall on ADP, on tight end ADP.
Okay.
So he is getting some attention in some spots, but that's from the analysts. That's from the people like us who are studying this and looking at it and going,
Right.
this could be something, right?
Potential.
Yeah. So we currently don't have him ranked, and that's more by function of like we just didn't have his name in our stuff when we started doing this. It's not because we think he's trash. Like we're looking at it and we're going, there's a ton of upside here. And hey, that's what our podcast name is. Maybe that makes sense. So let's talk about him. I actually debated whether or not to hold this name back and put him into like a deep sleeper episode.
Right.
But I think he's going to be more valuable than a deep sleeper. Usually I think of deep sleepers as guys who may not get drafted, and you could take him and then he's going to be a guy who slots into like a wide receiver 3 or a flex spot or something, or a spot start here and there in a good matchup. This guy's going to be a starter all the time for you. And at a position like tight end, he better be a starter for you all the time because you're only going to take the one, right? And you got to have some guts if you're going to take this guy as your one tight end. And if let's say you make a mistake and you do miss out on all these other guys, well, guess what? This is your fail safe in that situation. Okay. Look, let me tell you what they're saying about him. Okay. He's got a 3-year contract extension that he just got in March. Okay. He's been signed to be the tight end 1 there. Jason Witten's gone and Randall Cobb is gone. They brought in CD Lamb and pretty much nothing else on that.
Yeah.
So this team last year with Jason Garrett, it threw to the tight end 126 times. Okay. So Jason Witten was 83 of those passes, and Blake Jarwin was over 40 of those passes. I forget exactly how many, but there's only one other tight end currently on the roster who was on the roster last year who caught passes or who was targeted.
Yeah.
And he was targeted 2 times. Okay. So Blake Jarwin is the only guy on this roster who has been targeted by Dak Prescott, like at a level that's even worth remotely considering.
In a game, basically.
Yeah, in a game, basically, right? So 126 targets to the tight end. And then there's a guy who has 2 of those targets from last year. Where do you think the rest of them are going to go? Now, they may not target 126 passes to the tight end,
Yeah.
but they have CD Lamb to make up for that. But then let's talk about the fact that what's the vacated targets looking like on this offense from last year?
Yeah.
Well, when you take just Jason Witten and Randall Cobb, they each had 83 targets last year. It's 166 targets between the 2 of them. Do you think there's enough room there for CD Lamb as well as Blake Jarwin to get their targets? I believe so. I mean, even let's say you just add 40 more targets to Blake Jarwin. You still have 120 targets for CD Lamb. Who among us thinks that CD Lamb's going to get 120 targets on an offense that already has Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper?
That would be really tough to do.
Yeah. So I think there's plenty of vacated targets available for Blake Jarwin to perform as a tight end 1.
Yeah.
To have the opportunity to be a tight end 1. Now let's talk about him actually, his actual physicality. This dude is unbelievably athletic. There's a reason that they signed him. He got 3 touchdowns last year in those 41 passes, right? He caught it 30 sometimes. So he was like catching the ball 75% of the time. And he converted 10% of those for TDs. And this guy is a seam runner. He's a seam running tight end. So when was the last time that Mike McCarthy had a seam running tight end? His name was Jermichael Finley. And that dude owned. He absolutely was dominant. If he didn't get injured, he would have had
had a good tight end in fantasy.
Yeah. One worth considering at all.
Yeah.
Other than, the market setter, Jimmy Graham. Yeah.
Mr. Getting paid 4 times more than George Kittle.
Yeah.
Yes, I got a George Kittle reference in.
Yep. There you go.
What is that, velvet?
Smooth.
I knew.
Yep. All right. So look, like I said, they just signed him to be their tight end 1.
Yeah.
And it's Mike McCarthy. He loves athletic tight ends. He wants to get those guys involved in the passing game. He wants to. Jarwin is still young in the league. He's got all the opportunity available to him here. Like I said, there's only one other guy who was targeted last year on this roster, and he had 2 targets. That's Dalton Schultz. Again, who? Right? Okay.
You said, he's still young. I mean, he's going into his 4th season. They already signed him to a contract extension. He's only going to be 25.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's still young.
Yeah. Here we go. I've got all of his stats from last year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So 41 targets, 31 catches, 365 yards. That's 11.77 yards per catch with 3 touchdowns. Right. So give this guy more opportunity. Yeah, his yards per catch will probably come down a little bit, but that's a pretty
touchdown
dominant
percentage
number.
Might come down a little bit as well.
Well, yeah, I can't imagine he's going to be at 10%, but if you double his opportunity, there's no reason to believe that he's going to be less than 5 TDs on the season, probably.
Yeah.
I think you could safely guess somewhere between 4 and 7 TDs for him. I think so.
Yeah,
he's an offense that's going to pass.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys that I was just talking about when we talked about Jonnu Smith. I mean, limited sample, but they've always been efficient.
Yeah.
So Blake Jarwin's had a total of 77 career targets, but he's come down with 75% of them. That's not bad for a tight end. His average yards per target's been 8.7. That's pretty good too.
You want to get screwy and sneaky with people, and let's say that you're in a league with people who've wised up on the weight on QB, weight on tight end, right?
Yeah.
This guy's not getting drafted. He's not getting any notice at all, right? So that you can hang back and you could be a little bit jerky and reach for your defense and your kicker a little bit earlier than anyone else might, if they're waiting on QB and tight end, and
Right.
they're all crowding that at the back. If you're paying attention and you see that happening, you could take your kicker and your defense and then take your tight end into the last round, and you could get this guy. And it's entirely possible that you walk away with a tight end one.
So real quick, while you were talking, I went to Fantasy Football Calculator. I had to go to a 14-team league to find him ranked anywhere for ADP.
Yeah.
That gives you an idea.
Yeah. You're going to be able to draft this guy at the end of the draft. And
yep.
He might get a little bit of noise coming towards the season, but it's nothing that's going to get him ahead of the 14th round.
It's not going to be like Hayden Hurst noise that's already starting to come about. I don't think it's going to be that.
I see Hurst in ultimately somewhere between the 8th and 10th round. Like that's going to be his price. It doesn't make him any less valuable. It just makes him a little pricier for you. Like he's still going to return that upside for you, and you're not paying the price of somebody like Travis Kelce or whatever,
right?
You know? Which, by the way, watch out for Travis Kelce this year. Do not be the guy who grabs Travis Kelce. If you're paying a second or third round, I'm not being a jerk, Justin. I'm not giving you grief for grabbing him last year when you had Kittle as a keeper. I'm not. I'm saying look out. He's got the worst schedule for tight ends based on last year's fantasy points allowed. So he's got a tough season ahead of him. Look, if there's anybody who's going to be able to overcome that sort of schedule, it's probably going to be Kelce or Kittle or a few other guys in this league, right? But those defenses are really good at stopping the tight end for a reason. And you have to imagine that there may only be a few opportunities for him to really break out. So let other guys make those mistakes. Grab those tight ends early, pay up for guys that they shouldn't pay up for because they're not paying attention. Kittle, on the other hand, has the best schedule. Okay, so if you're going to pay up for a guy and you're absolutely dead set on paying up for a tight end, pay up for Kittle. That's the guy who you should pay up for. Okay, but Blake Jarwin has a solid schedule and he has a solid opportunity, and they're going to throw the ball at him a lot. So why not buy on that?
Take a chance. Take a flyer.
He's not going to get.
He's going to be available at the end. Hell, he might be available before week 1 on the waiver wire, and you're like, oh yeah, Blake Jarwin. Why didn't I draft him?
I would imagine by week 2 he's going to be rostered pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. So get ahead. Get ahead of the people. Mm-hmm. Have the other owners in the league look at you like, oh crap, he was onto something.
Yeah. And then you're sitting.
Who was he listening to?
Championship. Yeah. All right, guys, that's the end of the Upside series for now. We're going to revisit as we get closer to the season. Probably we want to make sure that we keep everything up to date. Obviously, stuff now is not the same later because we get more information. We have injuries. We have free agents acquired. We have trades made. We have all kinds of stuff. We have people not getting to practice. We have people getting COVID. All kinds of crazy stuff, right? So we'll figure that out as we go, and so we'll have to update things. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll update the Upside series. All right. So you're either watching us on YouTube or at the Fantasy Football Upside, or you're listening to us on podcast, either on Spotify, Apple, or Stitcher right now. Mm-hmm. We appreciate you hunting us down over there. You've got our Twitter handle. We're at FFB_Upside. You can also find us on Facebook. We were at FFB Upside, no underscore. You can also search for us there. The Fantasy Football Upside. You can reach us by Gmail right now. Send us your questions. We've gotten, I think, a grand total of 1 question. So send us some more, guys. It's going to get busy. Trust us. It's going to get busy. Yeah, it was Jared.
Thanks, JR.
Yeah.
Shout out. He always loves
it. Yeah. He also loves it when we give grief to the rest of the league, right?
About as much as your brother Blake.
Yeah. I don't know. He hasn't texted me about it, so I'm not sure. I picked a Blake as my tight end, right? I picked a Blake as my tight end.
There you go.
Now he's going to draft him and say, I drafted him because you said to.
Hey, guys, I've drafted a Blake.
Yeah. So,
he's also going to draft Blake Bortles.
Is he still in the league? I don't even know.
Back up for the LA Rams.
There you go. There you go. All right. He just loves wearing ugly, ugly jerseys. That's what it is, I guess, right?
It really is.
Yeah. All right. So, like I said, hit us up at email. It's thefantasyfootballupside@gmail.com.
Yep.
And once again, look, we're going to have that victory draft kit coming out. We're going to offer that draft Sherpa stuff. We're going to have that all set up. We're going to help you through the season. We're going to help you through the season regardless. We're going to help you with the draft regardless of whether or not you're participating in that. You're going to be able to listen to us each week. And, make sure that you're subscribed to do so. Okay. Click that subscribe button. Click that bell so you're notified every time we upload stuff. And that way you're keeping up to date with the best fantasy football podcast that's on the internet.
Boom.
Thank you guys again for being fans of the Upside, and we will see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye.